What would you say to the critique that goes, modern feminism has influenced the church in a negative way?
And so I think with the red pill community, there have been a lot of men who have been.
Ruslan.
What do you make of all of the kind of red pill sensations that we've seen in the last, I'd say, 3-4 years? We've been seeing it. I know you and Ezekiel have been doing a tour talking about some of these issues. You guys did a really good podcast, by the way, that I listened to, and we've been talking about this stuff for a while on the channel in terms of, it kind of first exploded with the Kevin Samuels, and then you saw the Fresh&Fits, and then now it's the Andrew Tates, and it's like this whole community of folks that are saying some of these half-truths, but like with very wrong conclusions and prescriptions.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I think a lot of times people grab these half-truths and they identify with the truth in it, and then they run with it and don't really realize how far from God's design that a lot of these ideologies are. Yeah. Right? And I think when I think about the red pill community, it's hard for me to think about them and not to think about Hebrew Israelism. In the sense that if you go to the African-American community and talk to young black boys who just converted to Hebrew Israelism, they did so because the Hebrew Israelites came and they filled a deep longing and a need and a void for African-American men, right? They felt like they wasn't heard. They were wounded by America. And I think the red pill community was able to be successful is because they capitalized off the wounds.
The real wounds.
The real wounds.
Yeah.
So it isn't that the red pill community isn't feeling a need or feeling a void. This is the reason why some people are so defensive when you talk about them. They're feeling a need. They're just not giving true biblical solutions. It's kind of like Tupac. I love Tupac because he highlighted a lot of things, but and then he was misinformed on a lot of things. And he was well articulated on, I think, but he never gave solutions, right? And he even said himself, "I don't know the way. I'm just trying to point somebody a highlighted issue, and so somebody who do know the way can pick it up and carry it, right?"
Yeah.
And so I think with the red pill community, there have been a lot of men who have been wounded by women. There have been a lot of men who have experienced rejection, experienced heartache, or whatever. And I think the church has done a poor job of really sitting with these men and who've been divorced. I mean, a lot of times the woman is consoled in some of these spaces, or they feel like the church is curated for women and not men. And so, but I also think that the space can be a little problematic because I think what their view of headship is wrong. I think a lot of men look at headship and automatically think dominance or control. And that's just not how Jesus came to lead his church. And so I think they've done a really good job of catering to wounded men, but not giving them truth in a way that I think pleases God and allows men and women to really see one another. And so for that reason, I've just seen so many arguments on social media and men miss one another. And one of the things that, hurt me the most is, I'm an apologist. I love to, reaching out to other religions, and I'll be following like social media accounts just to see what other religions are talking about. And it was this wave of Hebrew Israelite women and men on YouTube and Instagram talking about how the Christian faith isn't the true faith because of how men and women treat each other, how the women are not submissive to their husbands and yada, yada, yada. And husbands don't respect their wives. And this is the reason why we should walk away from the Christian faith. And I think a lot of the red pill community has crept into the church. And we have to understand that this is a gospel issue. The Bible says that the way the world will know us is by the love that we have from one another. And so I think when you train and when you disciple men to with this egotistical, domineering, almost kind of like hostility for women, you don't teach the world who's watching us that the gospel is the true faith. You just don't. And so I just will warn people. I mean, the world is going to be the world. I'm going to expect the world to be the world. I'm going to try to reach people in the world. But particularly for the church, I would just warn men in the church to make sure they're not attracted to something because it's rubbing your wounds but not giving you life.
That's good. That's good. What are some aspects or pillars that you hear from the red pill community that you would say, I agree with some of that? Like, I think some of this is actually valid critique, whether it's of the church or whether that's of male-female dynamics.
I think, the thing about catering to the wounds of people, but not like really giving them like true life, is in order for you to do that, you kind of have to like blurt out a lot of stuff that's not necessarily false, but they're just generalizations of. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Hasty generalization fallacy.
Yeah, women do this because of that. It's just like, okay, there are billions of women on the earth.
Yeah.
What woman are you talking about?
Yeah.
Are you talking about all the women that you dealt with?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you surrounded? Like, and so for me, like, even being a thinker, like, I would, if I was on these shows, I would ask so many questions before I even entertain a conversation. Yeah. Who are you surrounding yourself around? What type of women are you attracted to? Why are you attracted to them?
Right.
What, and so I think that, we generalize women and we generalize men in ways that we shouldn't, first of all, because men are way more nuanced and complex individuals than we give credit for. And I think the same goes for women. And so some things that they say are true. Women in America don't know how to be respectful. That's the reason why we need to go overseas. It's like, okay, a lot of women over there are oppressed. They don't have a choice to leave. And this is the reason why the divorce rate is not, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's not even like a lot of the things that's said, I don't think it's given with like deep thought at times, but it's truth in it. I just don't think that it's dissected in a way that it can be to give proper perspective.
Got you.
In a lot of ways. And so, yeah, some women a lot of women in America are disrespectful. Yeah, the divorce rate is high. Yeah, a lot of women are materialistic. So are men. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And so I don't know.
Yeah, I think what I always see it as is hasty generalization, fallacy, and selection bias.
Yes.
You're dealing with a very specific type of woman.
Yeah.
And not all women are like that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I then listen to the women, and then the women are like, I'm the 28, 29, 30-year-old virgin looking to submit to a man. Where are they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I talk to the men, and they're just like, well, these women don't know this. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I got these women over here who are saying that the men are messed up. And then I got the men over here saying the women are messed up. It sounds like y'all are just talking past each other.
And you want to know what I think, bro? I think social media has jacked us up.
What if the very things that Christian culture often dismisses as worldly actually aren't bad desires? What do I mean by that? It's obvious that the world values things like money, fitness, fame, and immediate gratification. But I like to propose that those natural human desires can actually be redirected with God's words and God's ways of doing things in order to bring glory to Him and serve our neighbor on this side of eternity. And I like to call this very concept God-driven ambition. And we'll be unpacking all of this at my very first live podcast in-person gathering happening August 26th in Oceanside, California. We'll have God Logic Apologetics, Pastor Jeff Moores from Rhythm Church, John Keith, Trizzle Fitness, and hosted by my guy Ray Rock. Lock it in on your calendars right now. Saturday, August 26th in Oceanside, California at Rhythm Church. Click the button down below or go to RuslanLive.com to get more information and get your ticket now.
I think a lot of the men who are just so irritated by a particular type of woman, they're never talking about the modest woman that they never notice. They're always talking about the woman that Instagram and social media and society kind of puts on the pedestal, right? A lot of these women kind of be out of their league anyways, right? And vice versa. And so like you generalize all women and you really kind of wound or even offend a lot of women who are made in the image of God because you went for a particular type of woman that rejected you consistently. When that's just not the overall heart of women out there.
Right.
And so like yes, there are women out there who are materialistic, who are money hungry, who are gold diggers and all of that. But it's like, no, social media presents a particular type of woman and you're attracted to that. You're like, your heart wants what the world has offered. And then when you try to go for it and you don't like it, it's like no, it's so many women that I know personally, they be like, what? But nobody talks to them, right? Because they ain't on social media showing their, body, you know what I mean?
And by the way, not everybody is even on social media.
Right.
There's a lot of women not on social media.
Absolutely. And so like, we just make these broad generalizations. It was like, bro, like, and so like, I think vice versa. I think, women, social media, these men get on social media and like, I'm a high class man and I make 6 figures and I'm 6'5" and I got a degree and I work out, and it's just kind of like, okay, and then your standards become high, and then when you want that and your heart is broken because you're not finding it, you're ignoring the God that you can really be building a friendship in your local community because you want, like, social media has trained us all to kind of want this false version of what's real. And so I think that, I'm a big believer that we should get off social media and really go into a local community, local church. Go outside. Treat this like 1995. Put your cell phones away. Have conversations. Really get to know somebody. And stop coming into, like, social media has trained us to expect something instead of really trying to get to know people.
What would you say to the critique that goes, modern feminism has influenced the church in a negative way? It caters primarily to women. It's ran primarily by women. And it is not appealing to men. And this has now influenced the way many women who are Christians in the church see themselves and see what they're looking for.
You want to know what I think? And I could be wrong. This is just what I think. I've kind of did my research on this a little bit, but in the 1990s, even where men were in churches more, the church started to realize that even when men came to churches more, women were the highest consumers of Christian literature, Christian books, everything. And so I think consumerism, I think, plays a big part in how we cater to women more. Women buy, statistically, women will buy a Bible study quick. Statistically, women will go to a worship night quick. And so you want to do conferences at your church. And so women they're just such high consumers of, and men, we just want to feel useful, right? We just want to feel needed. And so, but the thing is, when you have churches that only praise men who have communication skills, right? And then you're catering to women because they have a lot of buy-in power. I think men kind of like lose their way in churches, and this is like, what am I here for? And so I think because of that, I think I think a lot of men have found the church unattractive. But I also think that it just goes to discipleship. Like I think that if we started to disciple men, encouraging the older men to pour into the younger men, I think that we'll see a lot of more men come into the church.
It really should be that simple. But it's not. It's not, and it's a bummer because I feel like discipleship changed my life, man. Like it really, I mean, on every measurable facet in terms of who I became as a husband to who I became as a provider to, like, all of it. Like going and the reason why I started working on my mental health is because my church had a program called Men's Skills, and it was like a mixture of like group therapy and Bible study and going through like a curriculum about psychology and like understanding feedback loops and triggers and all this. Like that for me started in 2015, 2016 in my local church. Like I would have never gotten a therapist had my church not done that for me. So it really is that simple, you know? And I think that the tricky part is when there are the practical, because I think what you're saying is most of this stuff is more practical. Right? Like most of this stuff it's not a conspiracy. It just is what it is. Right? Like women are greater consumers. They make, I want to say like 80% of the spending decisions in a household is usually made by the woman. Right? So like that is what it is. Right? And so it's like people having a gripe with capitalism. And I'm like, man, capitalism is what it is. Like wealth is going to travel to the top. And yes, that disparity of wealth traveling to the top sucks. But that's always, it is what it is. Like so it's like trying to be mad about almost these natural orders of how things just kind of play out instead of being aligned with the solution for what should be happening.
For sure. And also too, I think that if churches would just become more Bible focused, too, they'll see being real. Men just want to learn the word. Like, you know, like my following, I was like, wait a minute, I'm out here doing these poems and I'm out here writing these dope vlogs, and you know, I got a decent men following. But when I started to my apologetics YouTube channel, my male following and my women following kind of started to match. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah. Well, YouTube tends to be a more male-centered audience in general. Like, there's just more men on YouTube.
But even my poetry, it was mostly women.
Okay.
So huge woman following.
Huh.
But when I just started to teach theology and teach the word, you know, men don't want to do like devotionals and write in the journals. They want to learn theology. They want to learn, right? And so I think that, you know, teaching the Bible properly and teaching people how to exegete the passages and stuff like that, I think a lot of men will be more attracted to the church.
Yeah, that's good. I think you're right.
Hey, if you want to see the extended version of this podcast, completely unedited, consider partnering with us in our online community for as little as $5 a month. In exchange, you get access to these podcasts as we stream them live before anyone else gets to see them. You get access to the replay of our daily after party streams, access to our private Discord server, access to discount codes, and so much more. So help us continue contextualizing the gospel through media, podcasting, and YouTube, and partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Also, be sure to follow us on the Spotify podcast app, on Facebook, and on Instagram. We're constantly posting content there that I think you'll find extremely valuable. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.